All right, music is off. Justin Bieber is off. Well, thanks you guys for being here. And for everyone that's on Zoom, my name is Katie Stein. I am the team lead at the Eden Prairie office. I'm really excited to talk to you guys. I said it's easy because it's Paige, and Mike. But why don't you guys take a minute to just introduce yourself, how long you've been in the business, what market center you're from.
Awesome. Well, I'll start. I'm Paige Severson. Hello. And I am with the Signature Group. I actually started with this last year. And prior to that, I was with another Keller Williams team. But we are at the Integrity Lakes office. And I've been in real estate since 2018. Started in inside sales, transitioned to showing agent, and then was a full-time buyer's agent. And now Signature Group.
Got it all?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Really hit the round.
I'm Paige Gibson Holmes. I run Paige Gibson Homes out of Integrity Lakes Uptown office as well. I started also in 2018 as an admin for a year, and in 2019 bopped off to a solo agent, and I've been that since. I just hired my first admin, so she starts this month, which was a really big move in the making for me. So
That's really exciting. Congrats.
thank you.
My name is Mike Taylor. I'm with the Keller Williams Realty Elite in Prairie. I started in March 1st of 2020. Had my first transaction that week, and then COVID shut down. And so it was a grinder until fall, and things started popping up again. See, yeah. Before that, I worked at another business, another place for about 30 years. Totally out, separate from real estate. So here I am.
Here you are. So I'm really excited to learn from you guys and hear about how you've grown your business, all very, very different lead generation sources. So why don't we start out, Mike, why don't we start with you? Tell us what your lead gen source is and why.
Let's see, I like to door knock. And the reasons behind that are, number one, it's a face-to-face encounter. It's a lot different than calling on a telephone where they just can hang up on you at any time. And if people tell me they're not interested, I don't take it personal. It's a business thing. They just don't need my services at the time. But there's a lot of interesting conversations that can take place at the door. And the way I see it, you've probably heard this in other trainings, but behind every door is a potential buy or sell. So you're looking at potential commission check if money's your motivator. Also, I believe that there's a lot of people out there that want to sell a home or buy a home, and maybe they just don't know how to access real estate. Maybe they don't want to call a brokerage or a realtor because it's kind of like, not to disrespect car dealers, but it's kind of like stepping on the car dealer lot, the shark circle. And I believe people don't like that. And so by me coming to the door, it's an opportunity. I'm right there. It's a face. They can ask questions. There's no obligation. I don't come with contracts in hand. It's just a casual conversation, which I usually transition into business.
So Mike, I know you personally because you're at my market center and we talk a lot, and I know that you are willing to do anything to get business. I know you cold call. I know that you are willing to do it all. So why have you leaned in to door knocking? What about door knocking? Because I think you've had success. I know you've had success from doing all the things, even posting videos on social media, which is not your favorite, but you do it. But why door knocking, and why have you leaned into door knocking?
When I started, so I'm on the Pauling Homes team, and Billy Pauling is my team leader.
I just saw him walk in. He's out there somewhere.
When I started with Billy, I just new to I had a lot of interest in real estate, but new to the real estate world as far as being an agent. I just said, I want to be successful. Tell me what I need to do to be successful, and I'm going to do it. And so right away, when he took me along in his first open house, we got there an hour or two early, and we door knocked. It was, February weather, but we door knocked. And I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. This doesn't seem that difficult. I had a lot of contact with the public in my previous occupation, and it just started to seem natural. I also, so if you're to break down where my leads come from, or where I have transactions have emerged from. It'd probably almost be an even split between door knocking and open houses. Again, it's that face-to-face contact. You're talking to them, you're reading them, kind of reading their nonverbal cues, and you can kind of tell which direction you can go or what you should say off of that. Let's see. It's just that personal contact. I think it's so much easier for me than the phone calls. And for example, it's my third year. I want to do more than I have the past 2 years and just kind of take it to the next level. So I hired a coach, MAPS, and so our latest, it's our accountability right now is it's 4 days a week, 2 hours a day, door knocking, at least 2 hours a day. And I text them when I go out, usually with a photo of me out in the cold, and I text them when I come back in. And I've set it up for 3 months worth of on my time blocking on my calendars. And I screenshotted those and I shared it with everything shared between my coach and Billy. And that way, I want it to be a daily habit. Previously it was.
Don't talk about your success yet. We're going to get to your
No,
success. in a
okay.
second.
All right. Yeah, we'll get there. I just want it to be a daily habit, whereas it's been kind of situational in the past, but frequent situation.
Thanks, Mike. Let's go to social media next. Let's go to Paige.
All right.
Since we talked about videos and I know he's been doing that, you've seen tremendous success with that. So talk about that and why.
Yeah, sure. So in the beginning of my real estate journey, I was not interested in merging my personal and my professional life, right? I started as an inside sales agent and I was pounding the phone 6 hours plus a day doing these expired calls and canceled FSBOs, and then lots of open houses as well. And when the pandemic hit, I saw, this opportunity to just make a drastic shift. I was like, okay, are people going to want to hear from me? Maybe, maybe not. I had some certain negative self-talk. What do we call it in Keller Williams? The drunk monkey, right? Saying, no, they don't want to hear from you. It's a global pandemic. What are you doing here? So when I transitioned to being an outside sales agent, I got my first client that was like my sphere that I got to see from start to finish. So nurturing them, letting them know I did real estate just in conversations and catch up, and then taking them through that process, I realized that I love working with people that know, like, and trust me. And I love the experience of showing them homes, of guiding them through this amazing life experience and being able to be authentically just myself. We already have this amazing relationship and however we know each other. And now I get to offer you this professional service that ultimately can change your life. So I was like, what do I got to do to work with more sphere, friends, family, referrals? And all arrows pointed the direction of, you need to get yourself out there. You can't be a secret agent. You got to create content that is, authentic and true to you, but then also engaging, educational. I like to add humor into the content too, because there's a lot of things that we do as real estate agents and a lot of things that we come across that people don't necessarily know about that are pretty comical. So made the switch.
How often? Mike talked about going out. Right now he's holding himself accountable. His coach is holding him accountable to 4 days a week, 2 hours a day. Do you have what's your accountability and how often are you posting?
I'm posting every day. It's so funny in our team group text. I was sick the tail end of last year, and Anthony said, "Oh my gosh, only 2 posts from Paige in the past 18 hours." So I really
People know something is wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
She must really be sick. She's not faking it. So I'm posting every day, and I'm making sure as well when I do get comments or I do get feedback that I'm responding to that, as timely as possible, almost immediately. And then I do a lot of reposting as well to kind of just mix up the feed a little bit, because my goal is when somebody, for example, is on Facebook or an Instagram, I want to be in that first couple of people, the first stories that they see,
Okay, so are you Instagram and Facebook primarily? Do you do TikTok,
Yes.
Twitter? What do you use? What's your platform?
My platform, like my go-to is Instagram.
Okay,
That's where I think that you got to go where your audience is, and the majority of my audience is there. Now, if your sphere of influence and your network is in Facebook, go all in on Facebook. You know, be doing the events, lots of posts, switching it up, the 531. So you get the business ones, the personal ones, and then
what's
you
the
know,
531?
so that's like the formula for what kind of content you're posting. So it's not so business focused where you're switching it up between 5 posts about your personal life, 3 about business, and then 1 kind of educational content. And that's just a formula that I
And
found
that's
somewhere
in
on the internet.
That's in a week? That's in a day? That's in a month? What do you try to do?
Ooh, well,
Like for every 5 personal posts, there should be 3 business posts and there should be 1 educational content.
I think if you're on Facebook, that's got to be maybe every 10 days.
Okay.
You want to be doing that formula.
Okay.
But on Instagram, I'm all about the stories and the reels right now. And then creating video content too that's captivating and has calls to action.
Awesome.
Yeah, so been successful. 85% of my business last year was spirit referral.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. The other page, tell us about events.
Yeah, so I think it's like I guess my business also is 100% word of mouth, sphere of influence and Instagram. And so events is really just a way to nurture that business and give my clients a platform or like an opportunity to bring in business for me in that referral sense.
Okay, so you were an admin, you started as an admin. I'm guessing that you made calls, maybe as an admin, you never made, so like you've never
No,
really
it's
done
like-
the phone thing.
Nope. So I never really, my first year, 2019, 100% of my business was open houses.
Okay,
And I was 23. So it was really just like, when you talk about like, you're willing to do whatever it takes, it's like, where is the business? And it kind of has that like diagram of where is the business? What am I good at? And where does it feel natural?
Yeah.
Right. And so for you, talking people face to face is where you found it feels natural.
Yeah.
And I feel like all of the lead gen in real estate has that component of like what feels natural and where can you build relationships the easiest and what's fun for you, right? So cold calling for me was never something I entertained. I was really fortunate enough that the 2 women I was an admin for, their business was at the point where it was 100% referral. And so that's just kind of what was modeled for
Yeah.
me. So when I bounced off, I did open houses. And then that second year was 2020 and my business just exploded and tripled that year. But it was really because I set the stage because open houses, it's like all the activities have an opportunity to build off each other. So you're door knocking, you're at open houses, that's content, right? You're showing a home, listing a home, that's content. And then my events for me is also content, right? And so I think the open houses, I really set the stage where I was just documenting it all the time. And that was a good social media piece. And then I personally just love gathering people and throwing events. And so that's become a lead generation system, I guess, where you're getting so many touches, right? Leading up to the event and then after the event. But for me, it's really that like elbow to elbow contact with my clients and really being like, how are you? And getting that relational update
Yeah.
in person year over year.
so do you remember your very first event?
So, gosh, my very first one, not off the top of my head.
Well, what's your
So the big ones
Yeah.
are, I do a holiday soiree every year where people get dressed up. They come out. We had, this year I invited 150 and I had 71 people show up. So
Wow.
really nice turnout. I find that when you have, it was my second year doing it. So higher turnout, people knew what to expect. No, I do remember my very first event was a photo shoot day for my clients. And so that was really nice. Again, tied into the social media aspect where you can like share and then they get to repost all their own photos.
Yep.
But it was in COVID. And so it was like this, for me, I gave everyone 15-minute time slot. They had to book it in advance. And so it was really easy to have just like that social distancing component to it because everyone was kind of far away. Photographer had to be 6 feet away anyways to get the shot, and people could bring their dogs and all of that. So that was my first event. That was
Can I ask you for that very first event?
Mhm.
Because as you're getting your business going, I'm guessing you didn't have $1 million to
Right.
spend on this event. So that photo shoot event, how much did you spend? You just pay the photographer? Was it
Honestly-
outside? Was it,
Yeah, you can do events like, I mean, as low cost as you want, right? And they have to fit your, like, your clientele and your sphere. So like, I'm gonna be really honest, my holiday soiree is high end and I spend a lot of money there, but I get, and we can talk about success
Yes.
rates later, but I get feedback there. But this first one, I had a lender pay for some of it and, I mean, maybe like $800 total. And then my
for
lender.
the soiree or for the photo shoot?
No, for the photo
Oh,
shoot.
for the photo shoot, okay.
And I didn't have food or drinks there because COVID. And so it was really just like the venue provided the backdrops. I paid for I had 2 photographers and then, so the venue and photographers.
Okay.
And then, yeah, that was
Love that.
the cost.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing, I think with events, like, I mean, I say, you know, for me, I love the gathering and like the aesthetic of like a big party. But like, if you guys, whoever plays a ton of intramural sports, like host a tournament, right? And rent out a softball, you know, whatever. It's like, whatever your sphere and what's fun for you, you can create an event around that.
Love that. So Mike, you talked about going out and door knocking for a couple hours a day. You also talked about door knocking before open houses, which I know that you do a ton of open houses. So what does that process look like? How many homes are you trying to hit? Do you have a time? Is it a time goal? Is it a person conversation goal? What's that process look like?
Excuse me. Well, ultimately, you know, our team goal for daily conversations is every agent do 20 conversations a day. So, I mean, that's always in the forefront of my mind.
And your team holds you accountable to that. You guys have strong accountability around those 20 conversations a day.
Yes, ma'am. Let's see, as far as open houses, I try to build myself a 2-hour window prior and get up, get there, put what I'm going to put in the house as far as signage and flyers and such. I set up my signs and then I'll go door knock. I have flyers that are made and I just, I hit every door and it's whatever I can get in that hour's time. And I really don't set a certain number. I just want to hit as many as I can in the time frame. And I don't set the number because some conversations are longer than others, and I don't want to feel like in my head I'll be wanting, you know, I got to get to the next one. I just want things to happen organically. And if it's a conversation that leads to something, let's just roll with that. And if I do 5 and then out of that 5 I get 1 lead, that's fine too.
Do you have flyers? Do you have any sort of marketing pieces that you bring when you door knock?
I do. We have a wonderful support staff on our team, Sarah and Ashley, and working with them. I usually, if I have buyer specific needs, which I really love. Just on a side note, when things were crazy and houses were flying off the shelves the last couple of years, and my buyers were losing, out on winning the bid, I would just tell them, hey, why don't you drive around? You like this town a lot. Why don't you drive around and find a neighborhood you like? You give me the parameters of the neighborhood, and I'll go door knock it, and we'll see if we can find the home that you like in there. And so that was helpful. So that buyer need flyers are great because it's like a mission. It's mission minded. Otherwise, it's like a cold call, but in person. And I have some generic flyers are made up, just depending on what it is. My flyers for like my hometown when I hit all the neighborhoods. And I have a new goal I have is trying to hit every neighborhood in my town once a quarter. The first quarter, so we're working on it, work in progress. And then I have like my remind list homes. And I have a different flyer for my remind people.
Meaning remind to go back to that home.
MLS, the remind.
Oh, yeah.
And you go through and you can hit different criteria to see who's going to be selling their home soon, or how long they own the home. It'll provide you with a list of names or usually addresses, names and addresses, and I door knock off of that a second time. That's a specific group of people, because let's get my name and face in front of them first. That's another beauty of the door knocking is a name and a face. So when I As an example, when I door knocked yesterday afternoon, I door knocked this neighborhood last quarter, and a number of them said, "Oh, I remember you," you know, and so it's another flyer. It's a much improved flyer from last time, and it's
Can I ask you, when you do an open house door knock, you're saying, you're knocking on the door and saying, I just want you to know that I'm doing an open house down the block.
Yep.
But when you go to these neighborhoods, like you just hit this for the second time, the first time when you door knocked, you just say, "Hi, my name is Mike and I'm an agent. And if you need support, I'm here for you." Did you say, "I have a buyer need," whether that was maybe the truth or not the truth? What do you lead with? Because I think that's the uncomfortable part for people. Like, what do I say when they open the door?
So open houses, generally it's, I introduce myself, make sure they know that they're talking to a realtor. And then I just say, "Hey, look, we have an open house that's going to happen here in the next hour at this address. Do you have any friends or relatives you think that would make great neighbors? Or someone you know at work that might fit into your neighborhood here?" And, you know, maybe give them a call, let them know about the open house. If they can't make it today, my name and number is at the bottom of this flyer. And please give me a call, and I'll make sure they have an opportunity to see the home. I'll personally walk them through it. And so that's the buyer need through an open house. I mean, how we do an open house.
Sure.
When I do neighborhoods specifically, and that is more of, I don't say I have a buyer need unless I really do, because I'm a bad liar. I'm gonna say straight up. And so they're gonna see through me, and it's like, you know, middle school kids, they're gonna smell you as a fake right away. For me anyway. So I try to be truthful, and if I have a buyer need, absolutely, it's buyer need specific. But otherwise, generally what I say, "Hey, Mike Taylor over from Keller Williams Realty," and I say, I'm walking around my neighborhood, I'm bothering, you know, some people that recognize me. I say, "I'm bugging all my neighbors today, but I'm just seeing if you guys know of anybody in the area that's thinking of buying or selling." They said, "No, we're not interested in selling." I said, "That's great, that's fine." I said, "But do you know anybody, a coworker or somebody, a friend or relative?" And maybe some people think about it, and, you know, it's either yes or no. And obviously, and we try to get another conversation. Some things that I do is like I knock on the door. If there's a dog in the window or a dog comes to the door, first thing I say, "Hey, what's your dog's name?" You know, and then they'll let their dog out, and I pet their dog, and then we start talking. It's you know, unless it's really ferocious, which hasn't been yet, it's a great icebreaker. And really, you knock down this barrier. Hey, he loves my dog. You know, he's not so bad after all. And that's, you know, that's one of the things that I do.
Great. Well, thank you. Paige, event Paige Gibson. So when you throw these events, what is your process in the sense of, do you only invite past clients? Do you ask them to bring friends and family? Or how do you create these, you know, big events? You said you like a lot of people, you like a lot of energy. So how do you create that?
I think it depends on the event. So I'm doing a Galentine's Day event on the 8th, and that is just past clients. So it's a smaller group. It's at Face Foundry. So I partnered with a spa in Minneapolis. And so it's kind of like the self-care theme. But that is going to be like 25 people. I invited 80, and we had spots for 30. And with it being more last minute, which when I don't have like space to accommodate everyone, my lead time, I need to be shorter because I need some people to say no.
Yes.
Which is different than like my holiday soiree where I'm like, I'm paying a flat fee for the venue. I have to hit a bar minimum. Like, you order food and it's never all going to be eaten. And so that's a more the merrier. So the messaging is different.
Okay.
Where for like the Galentine's, it's like a one-off text. I probably won't send like a ton of reminders because again, I don't want people to have to move their schedule. Like, it's kind of like who can make it. And that's great. And I should also add to the event, I also like to add a charity component to it. So it's like one-on-one FaceTime. There's a purpose. There's like the event, and then there's like a second purpose to it. And I typically like doing like a donation drive. So instead of doing like collecting money or things, it's like a physical item. So for Galentine's, we're working with Dress for Success. So women's professional wear kind of fits into that theme. For the holiday soiree, I did Toys for Tots. So we had a Christmas tree, and people brought gifts to put under the Christmas tree.
Cool.
And so with the holiday soiree, the messaging is clients and friends. So this year it was really cool. I had people bring their friends because it's always scary. You think of like, okay, would I want to attend this event? And like, it's like going to a wedding and like, you don't get a +1 and you like show up and you're like, I literally know no one. And so and what's really cool with the business I run, being it referral based, is so many people have friends within that are already being invited. So over the years, it's like they get to show up with like their friend group because their friends are also my clients.
Yeah.
So that's been really fun to like kind of see, in the further it goes on, the more I see that. But for people who don't, right, like have that, or maybe their other friends aren't coming, I'm like, clients and friends, more the merrier, bring whoever that you think would have fun. And like, you know, typically it's people I get along with well, because that's, you know, kind of how word of mouth goes. And so this year at the holiday soiree, I had essentially like $1 million of business brought to my event that, like, from an ROI standpoint, came, introduced themselves, and they became clients and closed within 60 days. And
That's
so
incredible.
like typically with events.
So you're saying you had I'm guessing it was in December, or,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you met those people came
So
to
my
the event,
clients
brought
brought
them.
their
So $1
friends.
million within 60 days closed after that.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
And I've like, I mean, that's the first year of seeing a like super tangible ROI like that.
Yeah.
I also have a maths coach. If anyone needs, maths coaches are awesome and worth it. And we typically track events within a rolling year period. Like, what did you, from an ROI standpoint? Typically we give it a full 365 days. And some of the events, like a little bit is intangible. You talk about like the culture of the business you're building and what is it like working with you as a realtor. Events is part of that for me. So like my clients expect that, and that's part of the like experience of working with me, is you have these other events that you can expect to be invited to.
Yeah.
And some of that's just intangible and I won't see in an ROI because it shows up in different types of leads. So a lot of, and I'm sure you get this too, with like people on social, like sharing on social media. When I'm taking a buyer consult, I'll always ask like, how'd you hear about me? And they'll be like, oh, I like saw you on social media. And they can't pinpoint where it is, but like if one of my clients is posting, and this is for me why I like to splurge on my events, but I want them content share worthy, right?
Yeah.
So I want my clients to be at the event and feel like it's worthy of sharing. And so they'll share that they're at a PH Gibson Homes event, and then someone from their sphere can see it and follow me. And so
Having
that's where,
FOMO, they want to be a part of it too.
yeah, and that's where it's like lead gen is always layered, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not just events, it's not just social media, it's not just door knocking, right? It's all of the pieces. And so I forget the question, but yeah.
Well, let me ask you about your very first event, the photo shoot, because I think sometimes when people like, they think I want to do events, but it's scary. You're going to put an event out there and you're like, what if nobody comes? What if I spend all this money, even if it's a couple $100 or $800, and you're like, what if I only get 2 people? So for that first one, or even now, like, how do you ensure that you're going to have this many people? But what do you do? What are those activities that you do to?
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
really, like you mentioned, being really authentic on social media. And I think when you're really authentic with like, okay, where do I have fun at? Where do my people have fun at? And then catering to that, that makes a difference, right? Like if I keep using sports, and I don't know why today, but like if you're someone who like loves fantasy football or March Madness, then like throw an event around that, right? You don't even have to, like, if you wanted to throw a watch party for the first March Madness game, work with a local bar and say, hey, I'm
You're full of good
bringing
ideas. You have the best ideas.
if that works for you, right? Like contact like your favorite watering hole and like be like, hey, I have 30 people, like whoever your group of friends is, I want to bring this business to you. What does that look like? Can you give me a coupon code or like something where like the first beer is free, or buy a drink and then it's like $10 off your food or something like that, and that's going to
Yeah.
cut your costs. But like I think if you get creative of like, okay, what do I have to spend or what do I don't have to spend, right? I mean, you could throw, like whatever,
Yeah.
whatever works for you. But
Yeah.
it's like, I think when you're
Do
really
something that is going to get your sphere there that they're going to be
that
interested
they're
in.
excited
That's a
about. I
great-
think it's
great
like
idea and
when you're
point.
really clear on like, okay, where do I have fun? And you work within that, and you're not like, for some people, like my friend group loves a big event. Like they love a big wedding, they love that kind of thing. So for me to throw an event for them to come to, I gotta cater to that, right?
Yes.
But like, I know some people like, I mean, some of my clients, I will never find them at my holiday soiree. Can't catch them there. They would
Yeah,
rather
it's
not.
Not their jam.
They're like couch people. I call them my couch people, these people in mine, because they are like, love a good movie, homebodies to get them out of the house. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right. So the way I interact with them is just gonna be different. They might be, maybe I find them at my Galentine's or self-care event. It's gonna be smaller. It's like
Yeah, more intimate.
really clear on the purpose. They're in and out more so. But they also like around Thanksgiving, I do a food donation drive, and they are people who are like, they'll leave a ton of cans outside their doorstep. I'll have like a 15-minute conversation with them. So it's just, you
Yeah.
gotta cater to your different people.
Love that.
I have a question around that. So like the conversations that you're having with the clients at the events, like,
Yeah.
are you a real scripty gal or?
No, not at all.
Just, okay, so you're
That's a
not.
good question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know sometimes when we're hosting these events, we want to have the conversation, but sometimes we're like, oh, now we got to start talking about real estate. So
No,
how do I
not at
lead
all.
in with this?
It's not real estate at all. So any of the events I'm at, it's like your forward questions. It's like, how are you? How's life? How's like really that like one-on-one, and like at the events too, you have to be kind of clear. Like the last holiday party I had, I didn't even make my rounds to everyone. And so there is a point where these events can get too big and you just have to be realistic of like, are you able to see everyone? And so what I did with that was like, I kind of greeted people at the door and I joked I was playing Santa because I grabbed their toys and then I put them under the tree, but then at least I got the like, hello piece and how are you? Thank you so much for coming. And then the room was big enough where they could kind of spread out and I kind of tried to make my rounds. But what I did after that was if I didn't feel like I got a good quality conversation in, I followed up and was like, thank you so much for coming. I bummed I didn't get to chat with you more. Are you available for coffee or like, let's do a catch up? So
How did you capture all of the people that were not your current clients that were guests? How did you capture their information?
everyone has to RSVP. And so you're getting that. And so clients, because it's clients and friends, when I invite people, I'm like, and like more the merrier. If you have other friends that want to come, just make sure they RSVP. And like, that's obviously to plan for a head count, food and beverage, all of that. So people are super respectful of that. I would say, and then my clients made a point to introduce them to me. And then I spent more time chatting with them. But like really fun conversations, right? Because it's like
Not about real estate, just
Not
like
at
about
all,
getting to
just-
know them and building.
yeah,
rapport.
and like with these clients that in my mind right now, like I had seen them at Lifetime before, and so they were like, we wanted to say hi, but we thought that would be weird because like we hadn't met you yet, but we knew you were coming to, or we were coming to your event, and so it's like I feel like again, just the more you are in your business, the easier it is because people just like kind of expect you to show up as you. And so yeah, I hardly talk real estate at all at any of these events. It's really the like
Relationship building.
yeah, and I think that's, the touches are so different. Like I can be messaging people or texting people or like in someone's DMs, but then when you get them in front, that like touch is higher quality. And so I think that's, yeah.
So that's a good transition into social media. So when I talk to really anybody, agents or non-agents about social media, everyone thinks about the content creation. And like, yeah, you can post every day, but all of a sudden you open your phone and you're like, I don't know what to post today. So when you create your content, do you batch it and do you create a whole bunch of content and keep it in your drafts? How do you get your ideas? Is it just kind of like a random everyday thing, or what's your process or plan if you have one? Maybe you just think of ideas every day, but what does that look like?
Yeah, well, I think that in whatever kind of lead gen you're looking to tackle, it's good to look to somebody that's doing something that you enjoy their content, you admire what they're doing this on a big scale. Like, what do you like to see in your content? And what version of that could you do that's authentic to you? So there are some people that I follow that every time they put something out, like I'm looking at it. For like Cody Sanchez, for example, she buys boring businesses is kind of her thing. But the way that she produces content, it always has a value add, and it's really just solid messaging.
Yep.
It's very direct to the point. So I'm thinking about timing, like I tend to drone on a little bit when I talk. I like a full narrative, starting, rising action, a little bit, whatever.
In 30 seconds.
In 30 seconds,
Yeah.
it's a little tough. So sometimes I'm thinking about timing, like, okay, how can I, get the message out there, whatever it is. I like to think, what are people's biggest objectives right now, and how can I calm the nerves or address that objection or hesitation head on for moving forward with their real estate goals?
Okay.
So does that look like, right now, I feel there's a lot of sensational headlines about interest rates, right? So people are creating a narrative in their own mind that interest rates are high, bad time to buy. Okay, bad time to sell, there are no buyers. So there's this narrative that's out there that exists. And when I'm thinking about producing content, I want to put myself in the shoes of the consumer and think, what would I need to hear in order to address that fear and move beyond it and keep my end goal in mind? So I think providing people with like the truth and options, and letting people know that as a real estate agent, it's our job to guide through that process and provide value in that way, to say, I know that this is what you're hearing, and these are the things that you might not be hearing. Let me be the one to share that with you. So creating content, and then sometimes, like I posted something yesterday about me in -5 degrees picking up open house signs, because I was like, well, here we are.
Yeah.
And I
That was real.
So I think that you want to pepper and diversify the content that you're putting out there, but really be thinking about your audience and what they need from you,
So
to
when
take
you
action.
create content,
Mhm.
do you watch the video before you post it, or do you just post it?
Oh, for sure.
I think that's
To create a whole cinematic experience. I'm like, what song's going with it? Where can I time it? Is the intro? Is it an instrumental? Are we gonna have lyrics in it? So
So how many videos now that you're a pro, how many times do you have to film a video before you're like, that's the one?
I'm one take page.
Oh, so that,
Like whenever we're doing stuff in the office, and I love collabing with the team, because we'll be just spitballing ideas, like how can we deliver this message in a way that is tangible, digestible, and fun. And we'll just kind of throw around ideas, and then Deja will be like, all right, let's sit you in the corner on the couch and let's film this thing. And then you just kind of, you just do it.
okay, so you just said that you collaborate with your team and you guys
Yeah.
talk about that. That's awesome. I think that's also a really good point, is whether it's your team or if you're an individual agent, just having your group, your people, agents or friends, to be able to come up with ideas around like, what do you want to hear? What should we be talking about? And
Yeah,
what
are
should
you
that
hearing?
message look like?
Yeah, and what are you hearing in conversations? Like what's holding people back from moving forward with the real estate goal? Like let's see what that could sound like in a conversation, in a question and answer, in a 3-step process, something that's again bite-sized, that you can put out there and
Awesome.
see what happens.
I think social media, everyone's like, I should do it, but it's scary. And then it's like hard to every morning wake up and go, okay, I'm going to put myself out there on social media. So I love those ideas. Thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing.
And there's so many people doing crazy stuff on the internet that if you post a video and your hair doesn't look so great or whatever, who cares? I mean, it's okay. Just keep doing it. Keep putting yourself out there and let people know what you do. Let people know all of the wins that you're experiencing. And it's okay to be authentic about any of the L's you're taking too. So if you just got your clients $20,000 in closing costs, let people know about that. Let people know that, hey, this is what I did. I think that a lot of times as agents, we think, oh, this is my job. This is what's expected of me. I'm not gonna, put it out there. Like, this is just what we do. But really, you're doing your clients and your future clients a disservice by not letting people know this is how above and beyond that I'm going for my clients. This is the win that we just got. If you're curious about this, reach out.
I think she has a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned that you always include a call to action. Could you share a few examples?
Sure. Like, follow, repost, reshare.
You say that, or you
Yeah,
write it
that's-
down.
That's kind of like internet speak now. I feel like everybody's trying to be an influencer and ask for those things. So just kind of put that in there. And book a consult. Book a consultation. Let's dialogue. Let's chat. If it's book a tour for if you're, showcasing a listing that you have. And it's so easy now, especially I said that Instagram is like my chosen platform. It's so easy to create a direct link to whether that's a landing page in Command, which I find is so incredibly amazing to
So
be able to use Command to create a link where people are registering and then immediately that lead is in your database, you get the email notification, you call them, and now you can track them, you can put them on a smart drip, you can just nurture them outside of the DMs, right?
Yeah.
So I think if the call to action could be even as simple as click here, book here, learn more. Yeah, and we did a mega open house in November of last year. We had a huge event of it. And then one of the things that we did to incentivize the sign up, we created a little list. How'd you hear about us? Do you know anybody that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate in the next couple of months here? And we got all these submissions. And then to incentivize that sign in, we did a giveaway too. So I think that if you're asking for something, you can give something in return, whether that gift in return is knowledge, education, the value of your guidance in a consultation. I like to say you can offer people something like a custom plan for you. Really, that's a buyer's consult. That's a
Yeah.
listing consult, right? But it's a custom plan
That feels
for
really
them,
good.
right? So all of those could be examples of call to action, or get together for a Galentine's Day or get together for coffee and conversations. Yeah.
Well,
Thank you.
that was a good question. Thank you. So let's talk success, because I think everyone wants to know what the success you've had, whether it is your total success, whether it's something you want to highlight. And then also, I think let's touch on like how long it took you to see that success, because you guys have 3 very different lead generating strategies, and some are maybe faster than others. So Paige, why don't you kick this one off and talk about success?
Yeah.
You already did a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
that 1 million in volume in 8 weeks is incredible.
Yeah. I think it's always good, like perspective, like even when I listen to panels, I think from like an overall, where's your business at? So last year, I did 31 units and about 12 million in volume, and that was 100% referrals, Spirit Wealth, and Instagram. And so,
What did you do the year before, just for context?
I was down last year, so I did like 13.5 million in 2020. And then the year before that, I did 10 million. And then the year before that, I did 3 million. So really, it was like that first year, I did 10 units from open houses. And then 2020, I like tripled that business and did about 33 units.
During COVID.
During COVID, yeah.
That's something to be really proud of. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and a little bit, I mean, I feel like success also is like right place, right time, doing the right things, right? And so, my friends all of a sudden didn't want to live in an apartment. So it's like kind of that too, but the groundwork was held, like I was 23 in 2019. And so I didn't know where my friends weren't buying houses. And so I did open houses and I did the content, all the social media work, let people know where I wasn't a secret agent. My people on social media are so fascinated with real estate because it's something they kind of understand, but everyone owns a house and there's so many things they don't understand because that's why we have a job, because it's so nuanced, right? And so one thing I was going to add what you were saying is, oh no, I lost it. Posting, I don't know, I don't come back.
Jump back in.
Yeah, but anyways, so success-wise, 2020, then I held that first event where it was just like getting face-to-face with my clients. But this year was the first year I actually saw that ROI straight from an event. And so that was kind of 4 years in the making where it was like, okay, now people are expecting to come to these events and excited to bring friends. And so that type of turnaround is crazy. I don't want to say crazy, but kind of crazy and amazing, and I hope to see more of it. But from a long picture, it took 4 years and other types of lead gen layered in. So it's not like I'm just like throwing events and that's where my business is really built. It's
Right.
in the daily activities. It's telling people I do these events and creating that like expectation and standard, and that, you know, sharing this is how.
But for those events, you have to think, I mean, 4 years seems like a long time right now, but in your whole career, like 4 years is going to be nothing. And when you think in a year, 10 years, what that holiday soiree is going to be, I mean, I know you from being in the industry, but I also know that I'm like, I don't know Paige, but I know she throws some killer parties at the Hutton House. I mean, like, I know that, like, I know that about you because of your social media. So while it maybe took a longer time to see that return on investment, it'll pay dividends for ever and ever, and it's only going to continue to grow.
Right. Yeah. And thinking, yeah, and how those events can grow. So like the Hutton House for me is a great venue because I can grow into it.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can that event grow more? There's space for growth. Yeah.
Love that. Mike, how about for you? What's the success that you've seen? And was it immediate?
So, like I said, I started and then COVID hit. So that first year, I had to be really cautious about people's COVID and social distance and sensitivities by going to their front door. So I really didn't do a lot then. It was the next year that one day in the spring, Billy just came, he goes, I've got a buyer need. I need you to go door knock these neighborhoods. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. And so my first success was I found a home for one of Billy's buyers. And I believe it ended up being an off-market transaction, which was even better, I guess. Personally, I'll give a couple success stories. So I honestly, I mean, I don't really put much emphasis on my numbers. It's more about getting out and being active and producing, and the numbers will take care of themselves. So I honestly didn't know that was, I know that sounds maybe naive or stupid, but I didn't know that was my numbers until I saw that. So again, like I said, it's door knocking, open houses, team leads, phone calls, and even rentals. I love helping people find rental properties to rent, and then they turn into buyers. It's a long play, but it's been worth it.
In the last month, you've had several
Yes,
contracts signed from door knocking.
yes. So let's see. My first one of my own was I had a young couple. They had a town they wanted to live in. I said, let's identify the best neighborhood in this town, and we'll start there. And they were expecting within 2 months their first child, and so I went and door knocked. And one neighbor says, I know, but the guy across the street, you want to talk to him. So I went right over there. He wasn't home. I circled back around an hour later. He was home. He says, yeah. He goes, I want to sell my home. I said, tell you what. I said, you know, he said he has an agent. I said, give me your agent's information. Think of a number. In the meantime, talk to your agent, you know, and we'll work out the details. And so that ended up working out. It was a very nice home in a very nice neighborhood, a very good price. He probably could have gotten significantly more on the market, but I think because we were there, they liked the idea of off market, not having people walk through the house. It worked out sweet. The recent successes, there's just drew a blank. So I was door knocking. Billy had a buyer need to really the Round Lake neighborhood of Eden Prairie. There's a neighborhood there where people love it. They don't move out. There's not much moving at all. He kind of, between me and another agent, he said, I'll take this area. You guys take these 2 areas. I was door knocking, and guy was in his yard, and I just kind of went up. I started talking to him. He goes, how did you know? I said, pardon me? He goes, how did you know we want to sell our house? My wife and I just talked about this morning. I said, CIA. And we had a good laugh. And he goes, no, really? I said, it's just by chance. I was just out looking because we have a buyer need. We arranged for a private showing with Billy's clients. They didn't like it, but actually this morning we were just talking. They're going to be buying new construction between 700,000 and 800,000. Their house is selling for probably around 5-ish. So that's one of the successes I had most recently. There's one more and I'm blanking on.
I'm gonna jump in and say, and I hope it's okay that I'm saying this, but Mike door knocks, rain, shine, snow, whatever, and he went out a couple of weeks ago and slipped 2 times on ice and landed on his back. And he went out and bought yak tracks. And now every time in our accountability group, he's like, I need to buy stock in this company because these yak tracks I could run on ice storm, bring it on, right? So be safe is what
Yeah,
is the.
yeah. Watch the ice. It's
Yeah.
the first time I fell was, it just happened that I was flat on my back in the back of my head and I've had concussion before, so I knew what that was. It took a little bit of time, gathered myself and went out a second time. The second time, totally different situation, but I ended up on my back again. I said, okay, there's my sign. I'm done. And then I went and got my yak tracks at ices and I'm beating ice. So we're doing fine there. But yeah, there's just this last week, last night's door knocking, I got a long-term seller lead. And then last week's door knocking on Thursday, the fourth place I knocked, he goes, yeah, I want to sell my place. Come on in. And so, while door knocking and getting those conversations, getting to that point, the big key to this is in the follow-up. I mean, you can stack them all you want, but you got to be able to go back, talk to them, just to meet with them for information. I say, look, information's free. You have questions, I have questions. I'll bring the coffee, let's talk. And a lot of times the first encounter after the door knock encounter is just kind of information sharing and getting more about what their buyer needs are or when they hope to sell in more detail. And
I think
follow-up matters.
I will say the door knocking sounds like it's a quicker lead generation source. I have an accountability group with Mike and every week he comes with new contacts or, whether he's working with them now or later. But we're all talking about those 201 contacts, right? Those full contacts and how important it is to grow our business by getting and capturing those contacts in command. Every single week you have a handful of new contacts that he's able to put into command. So while events may take a little bit longer, door knocking, whether it's in or out of your comfort zone, doing it and being able to capture those leads has been extremely powerful for your business. Yeah.
So I think one thing though that you just touched on was like the system you have around. So like you go out and door knock and then what do you do after, right? Like it's in the follow-up. You mentioned like the same thing with the landing page of command of how you like direct people to gather the information and then turn them into an appointment. I think something that like I personally am still building and figuring out, but I wish I would have started earlier is whatever lead generation approach you're using, what is your system around it and what does that follow-up look like? Because you could go lead generate, you could go door knock all day. And if you don't do anything with that, it's no good, right? Like you have to follow up. That's where that relationship continues to be nurtured and thrive. And so, I mean, it's the same thing,
So true.
with the event, I could take an event and have a conversation with someone and then never follow up. And then,
It's whatever that follow-up.
yeah. And so I
Thank you
think
for
there's
saying
like
that.
a key point in like the lead generation is great, but what do the systems and follow-up look like?
Yeah.
And so my initial follow-up usually is, once I get home, I sit down and I enter them into command. I get name, address, phone number, email address. Depending, I'm real hesitant to ask ladies their birthdays, but eventually we get there. And so I get it, so I'll have all information in there. I get them on the bi-weekly market, neighborhood market plan, a smart plan, and then the quarterly call list. And then we got like kind of a hybrid one that our team has created so that you're making contacts. It's in your task. We will make these calls in this period of time and get that done.
Mike, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're like wrapping
Okay.
on time and I want to give you a chance just to
Yeah.
talk about, I'm sorry,
No,
to
that's
give you a
fine.
chance to talk about your success. Yes, and quick, has it been fast? Has it been slow?
Yeah,
So,
I
if we
would.
have any questions on Zoom then at the end.
Sure, absolutely. So I would say, for success wise, for me, having 85% sphere and referral this past year is huge. For me, because my top lead gen sources in 2019 and 2020 were circle prospecting, open houses, expireds, and at that time I was farming. too.
Okay.
So I'd like be in the realtor in the area. So transitioning that to 85% of the business and being able to work with friends and family, and then the friends and family of my sphere of influence, and being that family realtor. To me, the success is so much more than the closing. It's that, it's the relationship. You know, it's the relationship, it's helping people, and it's doing such a good job at your job that people that you're working with are saying to the people that they know, like, trust and love, you gotta work with this person. Or, you know, when they're at the office, they're at the water cooler and somebody says, oh my God, we're so done with our house. We gotta get out of here. That person is saying, I know who you need to talk to. And then sending the introductory text message. And I think we teach people how to work with us. So when you're wanting those referrals, and that's the business that feels the best, and like you said, gravitating towards what works for you, and what's most authentic, telling people how to refer business to you so you can capture the lead, have the system around it too, is important. And I got really good at that in this past year, in asking for the referral, getting the reviews, and building out a system that allows people to bring people to me easily. You know,
That's so great. Are there any questions from Zoom?
There's one question from Wendy Beelhoff, I believe. Mike, this question is for you, and maybe you've asked this before. Is there a specific time of day that you go door knocking, or is there a time that you have found that has been most profitable, I guess?
Thus far, afternoons. So like my time block is between 2 and then whenever I get done, at least a 2-hour minimum, because people are home or they're awake, or, you know, they've done their business, their errands, or they're coming home from work. Or even the best ones are Saturdays, from 10 o'clock until whenever you're done. That's a target-rich environment there. They're just waiting to be able to answer the door. So, and don't be surprised if they come to the door in their pajamas or bathroom.
Are there any others? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the door knocking, do you always give them collateral when you're?
I always have a flyer. I just feel that way. If it sits on their table for weeks or on their counter, they're still seeing a photo of me with my name and my phone number. Or if they happen to hear somebody, oh, where's that flyer? And, you know, so it's something they can hang on to. It's very rare that anybody ever refuses flyer. I'm exploring, you know, what other value can I add onto that? A coupon, you know, hey, go to this place for a free cup of coffee on me or something like that. Still trying to figure all that out, but at the very least.
And then Paige, what do you, besides social media, are you still doing any of the other lead gen?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I'm making calls, expired calls. I do neighborhood calls too for buyer needs. So I utilize a program called Mojo to call neighborhoods where I'll strategically target, if my client's looking to be in a specific area, just calling homeowners in that area, letting them know I have somebody that would like to transition into the area. Do you know anyone that is looking to move? Like, oh no, we all love it here. Well, are you in your forever home? Well, not forever, but the kids are graduating in 3 years, and then kind of nurturing people from there. So I get a lot of success from that, and I like to use it as a value add to my buyers too in that consultation. So saying we're going beyond the MLS for definitely doing a lot of calling. And then open houses. I just did an open yesterday from 4 to 6 Wednesday. Had some negative self-talk about a weekday open house, like, oh, nobody's gonna be there. I had over 10 groups through. And one of and a super hot lead that needs to sell, needs to buy, and is looking for a cabin home to purchase as well. So that's like 3 transactions, 1 activity. Right.
Wow.
So I think it's good to diversify. Whatever lead source you guys want to use, just go out, just do it. You know, and if you're having a hard time like mustering up to get it done, get in an accountability group, MAPS coach, and or if you need to surround yourself with people that kind of like build you up, if you need a little role play, like rapid fire questions, whatever that is, or just kind of push through and just do the activities. Right? Because if you do the activities, if you remain like process focused in your lead generation, the business will come. So if that's social media, if it's events, if it's door knocking, just like go all in, just be an all in agent.
And practices like.
Right there.
with your
Wrap it up with a
practice,
bow, you know.
stand in front of the mirror, find a buddy, just like when you do script practice. Going like, I'd like to say this, what do you think? Because when I go to the door, I'm very mindful of people's personal space. I take a step back. I don't want to be the person right up, that guy up in the door, push.
Johnson, is that what he did too? The Johnson treatment? We talked about.
Yeah, it's just, and then as we talk, I kind of take a step forward and then I hand the flyer, you just kind of judge by how they're responding to you. It's how close into the person's space you want to get. And so like yesterday, most people invited me into their home because they felt sorry for me being on the phone. I said, great, let's talk, so.
Do you have one last question?
A quick one for Ms. Gibson. Your photo shoot event, was that outside, inside? What worked well?
It was at Style Society. So, I mean, I think it depends like what, so they used to be stagers. I think they still are, but around the holidays, there's a ton of different venues that do this for photographers for mini sessions. And they decorate the space to be really holiday. And so whether it's them, I know there's a handful of other vendors that do like really big curated holiday like backdrops. And so I just, booked their space for a few hours and then I booked a photographer. If you want to do the client appreciation, because it turns into like a client appreciation and then they share their photos. The holidays thing is really great. I did that in November because it turns into like a Christmas card opportunity. I'm not using this idea, so free idea. Mother's Day, I thought would be really great idea for it. Just like May Day might be a really like spring. You could do a Halloween one with like kids in their costumes. Like, it works year round, but I think pairing it with, a natural timing for it helps. But yeah, that was at Style Society and then just my like go-to photographer. Yeah. Yeah. And the touch points are with that are really great because you've got the invite and then you've got, them there and then you have a deliverable where you're like, here's your photos. Yeah. And then they share their photos online. So
You guys all covered there so much, and that was so valuable and the best ideas. So thank you so much. Thanks you guys for coming live and Zoomers on Zoom.
I would like a picture before you guys.
Great. What's the
One of my
background?
Favorite panel.